a scripture in the 137th Psalm and the first verse. And it reads, "By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?" I'd like to talk to you briefly on the subject, I know why the caged bird sings. Paul Laurence Dunbar, in his poem Sympathy, says, "I know why, I know what the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the rivers flow like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from its shadows steals. I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats its wings till its blood is red on the cruel bars, for he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would be on the bow a swing, and a pain still throbs in the old scars, and they pulse again with the keenest sting. I know why he beats his wing. I know why the caged bird sings. Oh, me. When his wing is bruised and his bosom sore, when he beats his bars and he would be free, it is not a carol of joy or glee, but a prayer that he sends from his heart's deep score, but a plea that upward to heaven he flings. I know why the caged bird sings. Now, this subject is the title of a great novel by Maya Angelou, and she bases that title upon this poem, or this sonnet, I know why the caged bird sings. And this sonnet is based upon the struggle that black people have faced in this country, and the attitude that the black people took about their captivity, about their suffering, about their struggles in America. And here in the scripture we have a group of people also in captivity brought down to the river in Babylon and told and asked to sing. And they asked the question, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? There was this black writer, County Cullen, that says, I doubt not God is wise, well-meaning, and kind, and did he stoop to quibble, could tell why the little buried mole born blind, why flesh that mirrors him must someday die. Yet do I marvel of this curious thing, to bid a poet, to make a poet black, and bid him sing. I know why. How is it, the writers are asking, how is it that out of this situation, out of this cruel condition, Out of all of this, you could ask someone to sing. And yet, they say, we sang. And no one understood why. No one understood why that you could work people all day, beat them if you felt you needed to, and then put them in their slave huts at night, and you would think that they would be miserable and tired and sleeping, but out of those windows came songs. And nobody understands that. So they say, why are they singing? And this writer says, I know why the caged bird sings. I have discovered something that is a mystery. I have discovered something that not many people know. I know why the caged bird sings. I know what it is at the core of his singing. Now, I thought that it would be good for me to talk to you about this subject today, because not just that it is Black History Month, not just that this is an exciting time in American history, not just that I thought that you ought to know more about the struggles of black people in America and on the planet, but I think that every life goes through some cage experiences. I think that every life goes through some points where we feel like we are caged in. You know, for the last 5 weeks, St. Louis has probably been a cage to me, because I have intended to go out of town. I had 2 places that I was going to go, and I said I was going to go to either one of them this week, and the next one the next week. The first week I was going to go, it snowed. The next week I was going to go, the day that I was going to go, ice. The roads iced up. The next week I was going to go, it was bitterly cold. And I said, definitely I was going to go last week. And the person called me from the city I was going and said, the storms are coming. 5 weeks I was trapped in St. Louis in a cage. Now, life seems sometimes to be like a cage. All of us go through stuff. I talk about my neighbor and his 3 children, 4. One, the big one, is not too much problem yet. The little ones, sometimes I see him sitting on the steps, and I go over and talk to him. And one is climbing on his back, the other one is pulling at his hand, the other one, and he just sits there, and he looks like he's in a cage. I know. So I thought that since all of us go through things from time to time that we either look like or feel like we are caged in, I wanted to remind you that you are not alone, that other people have been caged in, and I wanted to assure you that the cages that they experienced was much more difficult than the little things that happened to us. The real cages that they were bound by are much more difficult than the things that bind us. And if we would consider who we came from, if we would consider the people who produced us and developed us, when we come to the little cages of our life, we would just laugh and keep on going. I know why. The caged bird sings, says this writer. You see, it's important to talk about songs, because songs is the medium through which people give their truest expression of who they are. Anything that's important to people, they sing about it. And your songs can either point you toward or drag you down toward the gutter, or they can lift you up toward the galaxy. It is very important, the kind of songs that people sing. That's why I'm not so fascinated by the young folks and the songs, young blacks, and the songs that they sing. And they go, oh, it's not so bad. It's just the beat that I'm listening. It's gutter. And your song can either drag you down to the gutter or they can lift you up to the galaxy. And people whose songs lift them up to the galaxy will go much farther in life than those who listen to songs that drag them down to the gutter. That has been one of my observations. So these songs are so important. So we ask the question, why does the caged bird sing? And the writer says, I know why the caged bird sings. Well, the caged bird sings because he wants the world to know that he will not be controlled by his bars. That what's in him is more important and more powerful than what is around him. That he will not be controlled by man-imposed bars, but he would be inspired by God-fixed stars. You see, when you go through life, you can either be controlled by bars or stars. You can be controlled by your limitations, or you can be controlled by your noble expectations. You can be controlled by the things that you think hinder you, or you can be controlled by those things that draw you to higher heights. Oh, and I think of black history and what black people have gone through. I'm glad, I'm thankful that we have a people who did not allow themselves to be controlled by their bars. They were lifted by their stars. What if Fannie Lou Hamer, that black woman who was a sharecropper in Mississippi, who was beaten and chased off of her sharecrop because she was encouraging black folks to vote, she was being barred in by the restriction of that society. Suppose she had allowed herself to be controlled by her bars rather than her stars. This would have been a different reality. Our status in America would have been different if we had allowed ourselves to be controlled by bars rather than stars. I hear young people today talking about the stuff that's handicapping them. You know, it's a shame, and young people, the young people I know are almost afraid to complain in my presence. Because they know I don't have any sympathy for most of the stuff that they complain about. You know, you're going to complain to me about working for minimum wages. You know, you're talking to somebody who worked all day for $3, and you're going to complain to me about working for $5.75 or $6.75 an hour, whatever it is. I'm just not that interested in your complaints. When you've overcome what our people have had to overcome, to listen to young people complain about the stuff that they complain about is kind of sickening, actually. I'm just not interested in the fact that your car is old. I'm not interested in the fact that you have to wear this new dress again. What do I care? The fact that you don't have shoes that cost $200, you can hardly walk straight anyhow. What do I care? So I'm not really all that interested in the complaints that folks have on their job today when they make all of this money. What do I care? We were not controlled by our bars. Now, of course, those things, sometimes people get frustrated. A lady told me on my job once that the lady didn't like me because I was black. He said, Bill, we can't have folks not liking you because you're black. I said, woman, do you know who I am? Do you know what I have been through? Do you know what terrible terrain I have traveled in order to be at this place at this time? What do I care about one person at the school not liking me because I was black and brilliant and bold? Those songs say we will not be controlled by our bars, but we will be controlled by our stars. We will be controlled by our hopes, and we will sing about our hopes. I know why the caged bird sings. The caged bird sings because the caged bird wants people to know that there is some defiance in his situation. That he does not humbly accept his situation. He wants people to know. He wants all the other folks in the cages that are near him to know that we are still in defiance of this situation. We are not going to accept this humbly. We have something to say about the way we are being treated. They sang songs of defiance. You know, Linda talked about many of those songs and church songs, but there were some other songs. There was this man who wrote this poem, I too sing America. I am the dark brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company come, but I laugh and eat well. Tomorrow, nobody will be able to say to me, go in the kitchen then. And besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too sing America. And then there's this man who said once, my old man is a white man and my old mama is black. If I ever curse my white old man, I take them curses back. If I ever curse my black old mama and wish her soul was in hell, I'll take all those evil wishes back, and now I wish them well. My old man died in a big white house, and my mama died in a shack. But I don't know where I'm going to die, because I'm neither white nor black. They were in defiance. Claude McKay said one day, we must die. Let it not be like hogs hunted and penned in an inglorious spot, while round us bark the mad and hungry dogs, making their mark at our cursed lot. If we must die, oh, let us nobly die, so that our precious blood may not be shed in vain. Then even the monsters we defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. Oh, kinsmen, we must face the common foe, though far outnumbered. Let us show us brave, and for their 1,000 blows deal one death blow. What before us lies the open grave? Like men we'll face the murderous cowardly pack, pressed to the wall, die, but fighting back. They had these songs of defiance. In spite of their situation, they wanted folks to know, we will not go quietly. We will not shut up. We will sing songs of defiance, and we'll let you know that we're not happy with our condition. I know why the caged bird sings. The caged bird sings because he wants all of those who share his condition to know that we are still fighting, that we are still struggling. You know, sometimes when Paul wrote letters to the churches, one of the things he would let them know, I'm still on the battlefield. I'm still struggling. We are still here. We are still holding on. I know why the caged bird sings. And you know, the caged bird sings, and it's kind of interesting when you look at it. The caged bird sings because the caged bird is still a bird. The caged bird sings because the caged bird is still a bird. And birds sing. Birds sing. You know, and regardless of what you do for birds, they will sing and do what birds do. I thought once that after I treat birds nice, they would cooperate with me and not necessarily do some of the things that birds do. Well, years ago, I decided that the people in my neighborhood had been unfair to the birds, that we have built houses and covered up the little lakes where the birds would drink. So I went out and bought a bird bath and put it out in front of my house, 4 of them now, but that time maybe I had 2. No, I just had 1. And the birds in the neighborhood told the other birds in the neighborhood that this guy over here has this bird bath. And we can always go to his house and be refreshed. And the birds would come. And as soon as I go out and put water in the bird bath, they'd just, flocks of them would come. But they had a problem. They created a problem for me. Is that rather than drinking the water, the birds would get in there and flap their wings and splash the water out of the bird bath. And it was very hot. They did this frequently. So it caused me to go out every couple of hours to refill the bird bath. That's why I wound up with 4 of them. So one day I said to the birds, "Y'all are crazy. You ought to just drink the water and stop flapping it out, flapping your wings and splashing it out of the bird bath. I wouldn't have to come out here so often." And one day I saw a bird. It was just a little there. And that bird got in that little water and splashed his wings and drank the little that was left. And I thought to myself, these are birds. It's called bird bath for a reason. These birds are saying to you, you just put the water in this thing. We are going to be birds. We are going to take baths before we drink. We have to be birds. Black people were saying in their struggles, we are human beings. We have to be human beings. You can chain us if you want to. You can bar us in if you want to. You can starve us if you want to. But at the end of the day, we are human beings. And human beings sing. At the end of the day, we understand that God gave only 3 entities wings. That's birds, angels, and man developed his own with the help of God. Man, angels, and birds are the only creatures that sing. Humans have been given their songs by God. And as long as they have hope, they ought to keep singing. And as long as they sing, you know that they have hope. Even at our funerals, we sing. Even at the worst parts of our lives, we sing. I know why the caged bird sings. The caged bird sings because he recognizes that that song has been given to him by God. And he owes it to God to sing that song. And regardless of what situation he gets into, he needs to sing. Even if he's in a cage, he needs to understand that there's something in him that is free from the cage. So he's saying, I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. His eye is on the sparrow. He watches over me. They just say and tell people that God is in charge of the world. There's this story of a black woman living in the Carolinas. And there was a great preacher that came to town, the brother of John Wesley, came to town to preach. And he preached at the big white church. And they had a custom there that when all of the white people filed in and there was still room in the base, in the balcony, blacks could go there. And the blacks went in the balcony that Sunday. And this preacher preached a powerful message about Jesus. And when he finished, he extended the invitation to join the church. And no white people joined. And there was this black woman named Mary up in the balcony, came down and walked down the aisle. And all the people wondered, what is going on here? What are they going to do? What are they going to say? And she walked down and gave the preacher her hand. And the preacher said, well, you can't join this church. And she said, well, I heard you talking about Jesus, and I want to join this church. I want to give my life to the Jesus that you talked about. And he said, well, you can't join this church. And she tearfully turned and walked down the aisle crying and said the people in the balcony began to sing, oh, Mary, don't you weep. Tell Martha not to moan. Pharaoh's army got drowned in the sea one day. Don't you weep. What they were saying is that there is a God over the affairs of men, and justice will be meted out. And if not in your lifetime, eventually, because the wrath of God will be visited upon the children for the third and fourth generation. Oh, Mary, don't you tell Martha not to mourn. I know why the caged bird sings. And all of you who've been freed by those caged birds who sang,